Welcome back. Welcome back to Living in Mexico. I'm Ana Maria Salazar. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank all of you who've been joining us throughout the year. 2024 clearly has been one of the most interesting years for Mexican politics. The Mexican foreign relations, bilateral relationship with the United States. It's also been extremely interesting in terms of trade, economics, finance, but it's been a fascinating year in terms of trying to understand what will happen with Mexico. What is the route Mexico is going to take in terms of trying to address the extreme violence that affects this country. Um, when Claudia Sheinbaum was elected, she assured everybody, even when she was as she was campaigning throughout the country, that she would follow President Andrés Manuel Lopez Obrador, now former President Andrés Manuel Lopez Obrador's strategy of abrazos y no balazos, which roughly is translated into hugs and no bullets. But it was a strategy that tried to not use enforcement as a way of reducing violence and basically depended on social programs, which hopefully would reduce the violence in Mexico, if not immediately in the long term. Well, that doesn't seem to be happening right now. And the big question is, Claudia Sheinbaum, President Claudia Sheinbaum, is she changing Mexico's security strategy? That's why I really appreciate today's guest, Doria Velez. She is the research director at the National Citizens Observatory. It's a very important NGO here in Mexico that follows security issues very, very closely. Doria, welcome to the show. I mean, let me just lay it right out. Uh, do we have enough evidence to say that President Claudia Sheinbaum is changing her strategy that was imposed by her predecessor? Welcome to Living in Mexico.
Thanks for the invitation, Ana Maria. Well, I think that since the presentation of the public security strategy and the different announcements made by Omar Garcia Harfuch and Claudia Sheinbaum, it's a little bit difficult to expect a complete change of the public actions on security or an innovative strategy due to the general access, the objectives, and actions specified. And as we have seen during the last weeks and months, well, we haven't seen a real difference with the approach toward this problem. Let's just remember that we were living in a violent context where homicides have increased 0.20% if we compare the incidence of 2024 with the one of 2023. We have also that the kidnappings have increased to 0.83%, and other kind of crimes such as disappearances, injuries, minor trafficking. So we're looking at the context of violence. It's the same. It's even worse the past years. But the strategy, we can say that we are only seeing some kind of symbolic changes. These symbolic changes mainly are they are mainly the following one. We were seeing that Omar Garcia Harfuch is present in certain parts of the country, specifically in Culiacan. But and it seems that in the other states there's no other problem of security. No, I think that in the public security strategy, they said that the group that was going to work from the federal government for this issue, it was going to be present in all of the states that were having a problem. Well, we're not seeing them in Tamaulipas, we're not seeing them in Tabasco, we are not seeing them in Guerrero. So I think that they select just the state where the presence of the of Omar Garcia Harfuch, it was going to have like a symbolic importance, no? Because and a kind of difference from the past administration, because let's remember that during the past administration, we never saw Rosa Isela in any kind of violent context trying to direct what was happening. No? I think that another symbolic difference that we're seeing is that just President Sheinbaum, was again present in the National Council of Security of Public Security that took place some days ago. And that is a difference because just the past president, Lopez Obrador, he mainly said, I don't care. I'm not going to be present in those sessions. And they lost importance. But I think that if we look deeply to what this administration have been doing during these months, we can say there's a complete difference from the approach to what it's done. Let's remember that the public security strategy says that once again the federal government was going to pay special attention in areas with high crime rates. Once again, they were going to encourage citizens to report crimes to General Attorney's Office. Once again, they were going to implement a citizen discernment program. And once again, they were going to make several actions that it seems that we are listening again to the same tale, that we have been listening during the past year. So the other, mainly a thing that we can say it seems to be a new priority for the government is a revamped kingpin strategy targeting members of criminal groups that could have different results compared to what was done by past federal administrations. I think that a clear example maybe it's the Operativo Enjambre that we saw some days ago. We have
In the
seen
state of
the
Mexico, that was in the state of Mexico, correct? Yes, that was a couple
correct
weeks ago. Yeah.
and the detention of other type of criminals. For example, I think a Chinese person involved
Mhm.
with fentanyl trafficking. So
Well, I was shocked that they were able to uh, intercept almost a ton and a half of fentanyl, which is quite shocking in terms of realizing that up till 6 months ago, President Manuel Obrador did not recognize that Mexico produced fentanyl. So let me ask you this. I mean, I think they're going to have to do something because the big difference between now and then, and when I say then, maybe even a year ago, there wasn't this kind of war or this civil war among cartels. And the level of violence and how it just seems to be increasing since El Mayo Zambada was delivered to the U.S. government, it seems nonstop. I think, and it's probably going to get worse. So, the role of Garcia Harfuch would in being much more active, the president saying all governors need to be much more involved and take on the responsibility of state crimes. I mean, it just seems that she's basically willing to push at least the governors and state police and just kind of telling them you have to start getting more control over your states.
yes, but I think that that's a little bit tricky because on the other side, in the strategy, you're kind of limiting certain types of decisions of
Mhm,
the federal of the states regarding security institutions,
mhm,
and you are not giving them enough resources in order
mhm,
to strengthen, for example, the General Attorney's Office, for example,
mhm,
the security institutions. You're not giving them all the tools they need. So I
mhm,
think it's a little bit tricky because, and I think that she's trying to build a different narrative specifically, I think she wants to make some distance from what Lopez Obrador made in the past, but I agree with you. They need to do something and something quick, but I think that they need to learn from the mistakes from the past. No, and
Hmm.
I think that one of the one of the elements they propose, for example, the one of creating this intelligence unit. Well,
Right.
maybe that sounds pretty well, but we need to see if there is really a model behind that idea, or
Hmm.
if they are only trying to do what was done during Calderon's administration with Plataforma Mexico.
Hmm.
Now we need to see
Or employ a lot of a lot of federal police that are no longer going to be in the National Guard, which has also been
exactly,
speculated.
and I think that during the following months we're going to see which direction we'll follow this strategy, because I think that there's a risk that this is that the policy of security it might turn a little more authoritarian. It
Hmm.
might be it might tend to increase more human rights violations. I
Hmm.
think that we can also see that the public security strategy is less transparent and
Hmm.
we have less accountability. So
Hmm.
I think that there are many risks. And I think that the following months, we're going to see if there is a real commitment in order to change completely
Hmm.
what has been done during the past, and if there is a real commitment with the respect
Hmm.
of human rights, if there's
Hmm.
a complete commitment in order to try to give peace in many states, if
Hmm.
there's a real commitment with victims.
Hmm.
I think that if we don't see that and if we continue watching that there's the army everywhere and we are sending more and more elements to other states where we're not
Hmm.
watching any kind of difference in the homicides rates, in the kidnapping rates, in the extortion rates, well, I think that that's 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 a way that we can see that there's
Yeah.
really no, they're not ruling the necessary, and we are
Right.
sacrificing many things in that matter.
Well, we're going to be talking a lot about this issue, especially now that we know who the next ambassador for the United States in Mexico is going to be and how that is going to impact uh, decisions on security matters being made in Mexico. So you have to come back. You have to come back soon. Doria Velez. She is the director of research at the National Citizens Observatory. I really appreciate you joining us today here on Living in Mexico. Thank you so much.
And thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to commercial break. I'm Ana Maria Salazar, and you're listening and watching Living in Mexico. Please don't go away. I'll be right back.